Welcome to my channel Bookish English 2. Do you feel stuck when you try to speak English because you do not know many words? You understand a little, but you cannot build sentences. Today, I will show you a powerful secret. You can speak many sentences from just one word. Yes, only one word. Stay with me, because this simple method can change the way you speak forever. Chapter 1. One-word power. Many English learners believe that speaking requires a large vocabulary, and because of this belief, they feel stuck, silent, and sometimes even frustrated. You may also feel this way when you try to speak but cannot find the right words, and in that moment your confidence becomes smaller, and your fear becomes bigger. But today I want to gently change this belief inside your mind, because the truth is much simpler and much more powerful than you think. You do not need many words to start speaking English. You only need one word, and that one word can open a door you never thought you could open. Let us imagine a very simple word, something you already know, like go. This is not a big word, not a difficult word, and not a special word, but it is a living word. It can move, it can change, and it can help you build many sentences. When you say, I go, you are already speaking English. When you say, I go home, your sentence becomes clearer. When you say, I go home every day, your sentence becomes meaningful and real. Now think about this carefully. You did not learn 10 new words. You only used one main word and slowly added small pieces around it, and suddenly, you are speaking like a real person, not like a student reading from a book. This is where your fear starts to break, because earlier, you thought speaking English means knowing everything, but now you can see that speaking English means using what you already have. You are not empty. You already have words in your mind. You already understand simple ideas. The problem was never your ability. The problem was your belief. You were waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect vocabulary, and the perfect sentence, but English does not need perfection. It needs movement, it needs expression, and it needs courage. Now let us take another simple word, like eat. You can say, I eat. That is already a complete sentence, even if it feels small to you. Then you can say, I eat food, and now it sounds more natural. After that, you can say, I eat food at home, and suddenly your sentence starts to paint a picture. Then you can say, I eat food at home every night, and now your sentence is alive. You can feel it, you can imagine it, and most importantly, you can speak it. This is how one word becomes many sentences, and this is how your English begins to grow step by step. Many learners make a mistake here, and it is a very common mistake. They try to jump too fast. They try to use difficult words, long sentences, and complex grammar, and in doing so, they stop themselves from speaking. But you do not need to jump, you only need to walk, and walking slowly is still moving forward. When you use one word and build around it, you are training your brain in the best possible way. You are creating a habit of speaking, not just thinking, and this habit is what will change your English life. Now think about your daily life. You wake up, you eat, you go somewhere, you talk to people, and you do many simple actions every day. Each action can be one word, and each word can become many sentences. You can say, I wake up early, I go to work, I eat breakfast, I talk to my friend, and all of these sentences come from simple words. This means your life is already full of English, you just need to start seeing it. English is not far from you. It is already inside your routine, inside your actions, and inside your thoughts. At this moment, I want you to feel something very important. I want you to feel that you can do this. Not tomorrow, not next month, but today. Because if you can say one word, you can build one sentence. If you can build one sentence, you can build many sentences. And if you can build many sentences, you can speak English. It is not a dream anymore, it is a process, and you have already started that process right now. So here is something powerful for you to think about as we move forward. What if you could speak 20 sentences from just one word? What if you stop waiting for more words and start using the words you already know? What if your English is not weak, but simply unused? These are not just questions, these are doors. And in the next part, we are going to open those doors together, step by step, with confidence and clarity. Chapter 2. Start Small. When people begin learning English, they often feel a quiet pressure inside their mind that tells them they must speak perfectly. And because of this pressure, they hesitate before even trying. You may recognize this feeling, because it shows up in a very simple moment, when you want to say something easy, but your mind suddenly becomes full of doubt. You start thinking about grammar, about the right words, about how you will sound, and in that moment, you stop yourself. This is where many learners stay stuck for a long time, not because they cannot speak, but because they believe they must speak in a perfect way from the very beginning. But let me show you something different, something gentle and powerful at the same time. You do not need to start with long sentences, and you do not need to impress anyone. You only need to begin, and the best way to begin is to start small. When you say, I go, you are already speaking English. When you say, I eat, you are expressing an action. When you say, I work, you are sharing something real about your life. These sentences may feel simple, even too simple, but they are not weak. They are strong, because they are real, they are clear, and most importantly, they are spoken. There is something very important happening when you speak these small sentences, even if you do not notice it at first. Your brain is learning how to move from silence to sound, from thinking to speaking, and this movement is the most important part of fluency. Many learners spend months or even years learning words and rules, but they do not practice this movement, so when the time comes to speak, they feel frozen. You, however, are doing something different. You are training your brain to act, not just to think, and this is what will slowly build your confidence. Now let us look at this in a more real and personal way. Imagine you wake up in the morning, and you say to yourself, I wake up. Then you go to the kitchen and you say, I eat. After that, you get ready and say, I go to work. These are not complicated sentences, but they are connected to your life. They are true, they are natural, and they help you build a habit of speaking. When you repeat this every day, something changes inside you. English stops feeling like a subject, and it starts feeling like a part of your daily routine. At this point, you might still feel a small doubt, and that is completely normal. You might think that these sentences are too basic, and you may wonder if they are enough to help you improve. This is where many learners make a mistake, and it is a mistake that quietly slows down their progress. They try to skip this stage because they believe it is too easy, and they jump directly to complex sentences. But when they do this, they lose confidence. They make more mistakes, and they often stop speaking again. The truth is that this simple stage is not something to skip, it is something to master. Small sentences are powerful because they give you control. When you can say, I go, I eat, and I work without fear, you are building a strong foundation. From this foundation, you can grow naturally. You can add more words, you can change the sentence, and you can express more ideas. But if the foundation is weak, everything else will feel difficult. So instead of rushing forward, you choose to build slowly, and this slow building is actually faster in the long run, because it gives you confidence that stays with you. Another beautiful thing about starting small is that it removes fear. Fear often comes from trying to do too much at once. But when you keep things simple, your mind becomes calm. You are not trying to be perfect. You are simply trying to speak. And when your goal is just to speak, you give yourself permission to make mistakes, to pause, and to try again. This creates a safe space inside you, where learning feels natural instead of stressful. In this space, your voice can grow, and your English can become stronger day by day. Now I want you to think about something important as we move forward. If you can say one small sentence today, you can say two tomorrow, and then three, and then more. This is how progress really works. It does not come from big jumps, but from small steps that you repeat again and again. Each small sentence you speak is like a brick, and with each brick, you are building something real, something strong, something that belongs to you. And here is something I want you to remember, because it will guide you in the next steps. Most learners make one mistake here, and that mistake is trying to sound advanced before they feel confident. They focus on sounding good instead of speaking freely, and because of this, they stop themselves again. But you are not going to make that mistake. You are going to focus on speaking, on expressing, and on building your voice one small sentence at a time. In the next chapter, we will take these small sentences and gently expand them, so you can say more, feel more, and become more confident with every word you speak. Chapter 3. Add more meaning. At this stage, something beautiful begins to happen. Because you are no longer just saying words, you are starting to express meaning, and that small shift changes everything. Earlier, you learned that even one word can help you speak, and then you practiced building small sentences with confidence. Now, we are going to take those same sentences and gently expand them, so they become more useful, more real, and more connected to your life. This is where English stops feeling like practice and starts feeling like communication. Let us go back to a simple sentence like I eat. This sentence is correct, and it already shows an action, but it still feels a little empty because we do not know what you eat. When you add one small piece, the sentence becomes stronger. You say I eat food, and now it has meaning. Then you can say I eat food at home, and suddenly, we can imagine your situation. If you continue, you can say, I eat food at home every evening, and now your sentence feels complete, natural, and alive. Notice what is happening here. You did not change everything, you only added small pieces, one step at a time, and each step made your sentence clearer. This is the power of adding meaning. You are not trying to sound advanced, you are simply trying to be clear. When your sentence is clear, people understand you, and when people understand you, your confidence grows. Many learners think they need difficult words to sound good, but in real life, clear and simple sentences are more powerful than complicated ones. When you say, I go home, it is easy to understand. When you say, I go to my friend's house after work, it becomes even more meaningful, and still, it is not difficult. You are building your English naturally, just like you build your thoughts. Now let us explore another example, so you can feel this process more deeply. Think about the word go. You start with I go, which is simple and correct. Then you add I go outside, and now we know where. After that, you say, I go outside in the morning, and now we know when. If you continue, you can say, I go outside in the morning for a walk, and now your sentence tells a small story. You can imagine the person walking, you can feel the routine, and you can see how one word has slowly grown into a full idea. This is not magic, this is method, and you are learning how to use it. At this moment, I want you to notice how your excitement begins to grow. You are not just repeating sentences anymore, you are creating them. You are taking control of your English, and that feeling is very important. When learners feel this small success, they start to enjoy the process, and when they enjoy the process, they continue. This is how progress becomes natural, not forced. You are no longer pushing yourself to learn, you are allowing yourself to speak. Let us bring this closer to your daily life, because that is where real learning happens. Think about your day. You wake up, you eat, you go somewhere, you meet people, and you do many simple actions. Each of these actions can grow into meaningful sentences. You can say, I drink tea, then I drink tea in the morning, and then I drink tea in the morning with my family. Now your sentence is not just English, it is your life in English. This is the moment when learning becomes personal, and when something becomes personal, it becomes powerful. There is also an important lesson hidden inside this process, and it will help you avoid confusion. You do not need to add everything at once. You do not need to make long sentences immediately. You only need to add one small idea at a time. First, you say the action, then you add the object, then the place, than the time. This step-by-step growth keeps your mind calm and focused. If you try to build a long sentence in one step, you may feel lost. But when you build it slowly, you feel in control, and control gives you confidence. Sometimes, learners feel that their sentences are still too simple, even after adding meaning, and they start to doubt themselves again. But I want you to understand something very clearly. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is clarity. Even fluent speakers use simple sentences in daily life, because the goal of language is not to impress, it is to connect. When you can clearly say what you do, where you go, and what you feel, you are already communicating, and that is the true purpose of English. Now pause for a moment and look at how far you have come. You started with one word, then you built small sentences, and now you are adding meaning step by step. This is real progress, and it is happening because you are following a simple and natural path. You are not rushing, you are not forcing, and you are not trying to be perfect. You are simply growing, and this growth is strong because it is built on understanding. As we move forward, keep this feeling inside you, because it will guide you in the next step. Your sentences are growing, your confidence is rising, and your English is becoming more real with every small addition you make. And here is something exciting to think about before we continue. Now your sentences are growing, but we can make them even better. In the next chapter, we will add another powerful element that will make your English sound more natural and more alive, and you will start to feel like you are truly speaking, not just practicing. Chapter 4. Use time. Words at this point. In your journey, something important is about to change, because your sentences are no longer just about actions and meaning, they are about time, and time is what makes your English feel real, natural, and alive. Until now, you have learned how to say simple sentences like, I go home, or I eat food, and these sentences are correct, but they still feel a little incomplete, because we do not know when these actions happen. When you add time to your sentences, you give them life. You place them in reality, and suddenly your English begins to sound like real communication, not just practice. Let us start with something very simple and clear. You already know how to say, I go home. Now add one small time word and say, I go home now. Feel the difference. The sentence becomes more immediate, more alive, and more connected to the present moment. Then you can say, I go home every day, and now your sentence shows a habit, something you do regularly. If you say, I go home in the evening, it gives a clear picture of your routine. You are not just speaking, you are sharing your life, and that is what makes language powerful. Time words help you move beyond basic sentences and step into real expression. When you say, I eat, it is simple, but when you say, I eat breakfast in the morning, your listener can imagine your day. When you say, I eat dinner at night, your sentence becomes part of a daily rhythm. These small additions may look simple, but they change everything, because they bring your sentences closer to real life, and real life is where language truly lives. Now let us explore something even more exciting, because time is not only about the present, it is also about the past and the future. This is where your English starts to grow in a deeper way. You can say, I eat, which is present, but you can also say, I ate food yesterday, and now you are talking about the past. Then you can say, I will eat later, and suddenly you are speaking about the future. You did not need complicated grammar rules to do this. You only added simple time ideas like yesterday and later, and your sentences changed naturally. This is a powerful moment for you as a learner, because you begin to feel progress in a real way. Before, you could only talk about simple actions, but now you can talk about what you did, what you are doing, and what you will do. You can say, I worked yesterday, I worked today, and I will work tomorrow. And with these 3 sentences, you are covering time in a simple and clear way. This is not just learning, this is growth, and you should feel proud of this step. Let us connect this idea to your daily routine, because that is where everything becomes easier to understand. Think about your day from morning to night. You can say, I wake up in the morning. I eat breakfast at 8 o'clock. I go to work in the afternoon, and I relax in the evening. Each sentence uses time, and each sentence tells a part of your story. When you speak like this, you are not memorizing English. You are living it. Your routine becomes your teacher, and your life becomes your practice. There is also a deeper benefit here, something that many learners do not notice at first. When you start using time words, your brain begins to organize your thoughts more clearly. You are not just saying random sentences. You are building a timeline. You are connecting actions with moments, and this makes your speaking smoother and more natural. Instead of stopping and thinking too much, you begin to flow from one idea to another, because time gives your sentences direction. Of course, you may still feel a little unsure sometimes, especially when you try to talk about the past or the future, and that is completely normal. Learning always comes with small moments of doubt, but remember this: you do not need to be perfect. You only need to try. Even if your sentence is not fully correct, your effort is moving you forward. When you say, I go yesterday, it may not be perfect, but you are trying to express time, and that is already a big step. With practice, your sentences will improve, but the most important thing is that you keep speaking. Now pause for a moment and look at your progress again. You started with one word, then you built small sentences, then you added meaning, and now you are adding time. Your English is not the same as before. It is growing, it is becoming richer, and it is becoming more connected to your life. This is how real learning happens, not in one big moment, but in many small steps that build on each other. And here is something exciting to think about as we move to the next part. What happens when we change time? Your English starts to feel alive. It starts to move, to breathe, and to tell a story. In the next chapter, we will take this living English and use it in conversations, so you can not only speak about your life, but also connect with others in a simple and confident way. Chapter 5. Ask questions. Up to this moment, you have learned how to build sentences, add meaning, and bring time into your English, and all of this has helped you express yourself more clearly. But now, something even more important is about to happen, because you are going to move from speaking alone to connecting with another person. This is where English truly becomes a language, not just a practice tool, and the key to this step is learning how to ask questions. When you can ask a question, you open a door, you invite someone into your conversation, and suddenly, you are no longer speaking by yourself, you are communicating. Many learners feel nervous at this stage, and that is completely natural, because asking questions means interaction, and interaction can feel a little scary at first. You may wonder if you are saying it correctly, or if the other person will understand you, and these thoughts can slow you down. But here is something important to remember. You do not need perfect questions to start a conversation. You only need simple questions that are clear, and when you keep things simple, you give yourself the courage to speak. Let us begin with something very easy. You already know how to say, I go, so now you can turn it into a question by saying, do you go? This small change transforms your sentence into a bridge between you and another person. You can also say, do you eat? Or do you work? These are simple questions, but they are powerful, because they invite a response. When you ask, do you eat breakfast in the morning? You are not just speaking, you are starting a real conversation, and that is a big step forward. There is a simple pattern here that can help you feel more confident. You take a sentence you already know, and you change it slightly to make it a question. For example, you go to work becomes, do you go to work? And you eat at home becomes, do you eat at home? This method is easy to follow, and it allows you to practice without feeling overwhelmed. You are not learning something completely new. You are simply using what you already know in a different way, and this makes the process feel natural and comfortable. Now let us bring this into real life, because that is where your confidence grows. Imagine you meet someone, and you want to talk to them. You can ask, "Do you work here?" or "Do you live near this place?" These questions are simple, but they are useful, and they help you start a conversation. The other person will answer, and then you can respond again, and step by step, your conversation begins to flow. This is how real communication starts, not with perfect sentences, but with simple questions and honest answers. As you practice asking questions, something interesting begins to happen inside you. Your fear starts to become smaller, and your curiosity starts to become stronger. Instead of worrying about making mistakes, you begin to focus on understanding the other person. You start listening more carefully, and you feel more involved in the conversation. This shift is very important because it takes your attention away from fear and moves it toward connection. And when you focus on connection, speaking becomes easier. You can also practice this skill with yourself, even when you are alone. You can ask simple questions like, "Do I work today?" or "Do I eat lunch at home?" and then answer them. This may feel unusual at first, but it is a powerful way to build your confidence. When you practice both asking and answering, you are preparing yourself for real conversations, and when the moment comes to speak with someone else, you will feel more ready. Of course, you may still feel unsure sometimes, especially when you try to ask questions in a real situation. But that is part of the learning process. Every learner feels this at some point, and the only way to move forward is to try. Even if your question is not perfect, it still has value, because it shows effort, and it creates interaction. Most people will understand you, and many will even appreciate your effort to communicate. This is how confidence grows, not from perfection, but from action. Now take a moment to realize what you have achieved. You started with one word, then you built sentences, added meaning, used time, and now you are asking questions. You are no longer silent, and you are no longer just practicing in your mind. You are stepping into real communication, and that is a powerful transformation. You are becoming someone who can connect, someone who can ask, and someone who can be part of a conversation. And here is something exciting to remember as we continue this journey. This is the moment you start real communication. In the next chapter, we will take this one step further, because asking questions is only the beginning. You will learn how to answer in a simple and confident way, so your conversations can continue smoothly, and you can feel more natural every time you speak. To AM. Chapter 6. Answer simply. Now something very powerful begins to happen, because you are no longer only asking questions, you are also answering them. And this is where real dialogue is born. Before this moment, you were building sentences, adding meaning, used time, and learning how to ask simple questions. But now you are stepping into a complete exchange. This is where English becomes a two-way path, not just something you say, but something you share. When you can ask and answer, you are no longer practicing alone, you are communicating, and that is the true goal of language. Many learners feel a little nervous when it comes to answering questions, even if they can ask them. You may feel that your answers are not good enough, or that they are too simple, and because of this, you may try to create long and complicated responses. But here is something important to understand. You do not need long answers to have a good conversation. In fact, simple answers are often the best, because they are clear, easy to understand, and natural in real life. When someone asks you something, they are not expecting a perfect speech. They are expecting a real response. Let us begin with a very simple example. If someone asks you, Do you go to work every day? You can answer, yes, I go to work every day. This answer is complete, clear, and easy to say. You are using the same word go, and you are building your response naturally. If the answer is negative, you can say, no, I don't go every day, and that is also correct. You are not changing everything. You are simply adjusting your sentence to match the question, and this makes the process much easier to follow. This method is very helpful because it reduces confusion. You do not need to think too much about new words or new structures. You listen to the question, you take the main idea, and you answer using the same idea. For example, if someone asks, "Do you eat breakfast at home?" you can say, "Yes, I eat breakfast at home," or, "No, I don't eat breakfast at home." These answers are simple, but they are strong because they clearly respond to the question, and they keep the conversation moving. Now let us bring this into a more real situation, so you can feel how it works in daily life. Imagine you are talking to a friend or a colleague. They ask you, "Do you work on weekends?" You can answer, "Yes, I work on weekends," or, "No, I don't work on weekends." After that, you can add a little more if you want, like, "I relax at home," or, "I spend time with my family." This shows that simple answers can grow naturally into longer responses, but they always begin with a clear and simple base. As you practice this, something inside you begins to change. You start to feel more capable, because you are not just speaking randomly, you are responding with purpose. You are listening, understanding, and replying, and this creates a sense of control. When you feel in control, your confidence grows, and when your confidence grows, speaking becomes easier. You are no longer afraid of questions, because you know how to answer them in a simple and clear way. Another important thing to notice is how this builds flow in your conversation. When you ask a question and then answer a question, you create a rhythm. The conversation moves forward naturally, and you do not feel stuck. You may start with something small, but it grows step by step. For example, you can ask, "Do you eat breakfast in the morning?" Then answer, "Yes, I eat breakfast every day," and then continue with another question or comment. This back and forth creates a real interaction, and it makes the conversation feel alive. You can also practice this skill alone, and this is a very effective way to improve. You can ask yourself simple questions like, "Do I work today?" and then answer, "Yes, I work today," or, "No, I don't work today." You can repeat this with different actions, different times, and different situations. This practice may feel simple, but it is building something strong inside you. It is training your brain to respond quickly and clearly, and this will help you when you speak with others. Of course, there may still be moments when you feel unsure, and that is completely normal. You may pause, you may make small mistakes, and you may need a moment to think, but do not let this stop you. Every time you answer a question, even if it is not perfect, you are improving. You are taking a step forward, and each step brings you closer to fluency. Remember, fluency is not about never making mistakes. It is about being able to communicate, and you are already doing that. Now take a moment to see how far you have come. You started with one word, then you built small sentences, added meaning, used time, learned to ask questions, and now you are answering them. You are no longer silent, and you are no longer unsure about what to say. You have a method, you have a structure, and you have the ability to speak and respond. This is not a small achievement. This is a real transformation. And here is something important to feel as we move forward. Now you are not just speaking, you are having a conversation. In the next chapter, we will take this conversation even further by adding feelings and emotions, so your English becomes more personal, more expressive, and more connected to who you are. Chapter 7. Add feelings. Up to now, you have learned how to build sentences, add meaning, use time, ask questions, and answer them in a simple and clear way. All of these steps have helped you speak, and they have given you a strong foundation. But something is still missing, something that makes language truly human. That missing piece is feeling. Without feelings, your sentences are correct, but they are not fully alive. When you add emotion to your sentences, everything changes, because your English starts to sound like you, not like a lesson. Let us begin with a simple idea that you already understand. You can say, I eat food, and this sentence is clear, but it does not tell us how you feel about it. Now listen to the difference. When you say, I like to eat food, suddenly your sentence has personality. It shows your opinion, your preference, and your emotion. If you say, I don't like to eat food at night, you are expressing something even more personal. You are not just describing an action, you are sharing your feelings, and that makes your English more real. This is where many learners experience a beautiful shift. Before this, you were focusing on structure and meaning, but now you are adding your own voice. You are not just saying what you do, you are saying how you feel about what you do. This makes your sentences more interesting, more natural, and more engaging. When you speak like this, people do not just understand you, they connect with you, and connection is the heart of communication. Let us explore this idea further with another example. You can say, I go to work, which is simple and clear, but when you say, I like to go to work, it shows a positive feeling. If you say, I don't like to go to work early, it shows a different emotion. You can also say, I love going to work when I feel motivated, and now your sentence becomes richer and more expressive. Notice how you are still using simple words, but your message is becoming deeper. This is the power of adding feelings. Now think about your daily life, because that is where your feelings are always present. You can say, I drink tea in the morning, but you can also say, I enjoy drinking tea in the morning because it relaxes me. This sentence is still simple, but it carries emotion, and it tells a small story. You can say, I like talking to my friends, or I don't like waiting for long, and each sentence shows something about you. When you speak like this, your English becomes personal, and when something becomes personal, it becomes easier to remember and easier to use. At this point, you may start to feel a new kind of confidence, and it is different from what you felt before. Earlier, your confidence came from being able to build sentences, but now your confidence comes from expressing yourself. You are not just speaking correctly, you are speaking honestly. This honesty makes your English stronger because it reflects your thoughts and your feelings, not just your learning. There is also something very important happening inside your mind when you start using feelings in your sentences. You are building a deeper connection with the language. Instead of translating from your first language, you begin to think directly in English, because emotions are natural. When you feel something, you want to express it, and when you express it in English, you are training your brain to use the language in a real and meaningful way. This is a big step toward fluency. You can also use feelings when you ask and answer questions, and this makes your conversations more interesting. For example, someone may ask you, do you eat at home? And instead of only saying, yes, I eat at home, you can say, yes, I like to eat at home because it is comfortable. This answer gives more information, and it shows your personality. It makes the conversation richer, and it helps the other person understand you better. Of course, you may feel a little unsure when you start adding feelings, especially if you are not used to expressing yourself in English. But remember, you do not need to use big or difficult words. Simple words like, don't like, love, and enjoy are enough to express many emotions. These words are easy to use, and they can help you create many different sentences. The goal is not to sound advanced, the goal is to sound real. Now take a moment to reflect on your journey again. You started with one word, then you built sentences, added meaning, used time, learned to ask and answer questions, and now you are adding feelings. Your English is no longer just functional, it is becoming expressive. It is becoming a part of you, something that you can use to share your thoughts, your experiences, and your emotions. And here is something important to carry with you as we continue. When you add feelings, your English becomes your voice. It becomes unique, personal, and powerful. In the next chapter, we will take this voice and use it to talk about your daily life in a more detailed and natural way, so you can feel even more confident when you speak. Chapter 8: Daily Life Talk. Now something very natural begins to happen, and this is the moment where English stops feeling like a lesson and starts feeling like your life. Until now, you have learned how to build sentences from one word, how to add meaning, how to use time, how to ask and answer questions, and even how to express your feelings. All of these steps have prepared you for this point, where you can take simple words and use them to talk about your real daily routine. This is where everything connects, because your life is full of actions, and each action can become a sentence. Think about your day from the moment you wake up. You open your eyes, you get out of bed, and you begin your morning. You can say, I wake up in the morning, and then you can continue, I brush my teeth, I drink tea, I eat breakfast, and I get ready for work. These are not complicated sentences, but they are powerful because they are real. You are not creating something artificial, you are simply describing your life in English, and this makes the process easier and more meaningful. Now imagine continuing your day. You step outside and you say, I go to work, or I go to school. You meet people, and you can say, I talk to my friends, or I talk to my colleagues. You do your tasks, and you can describe them in simple ways. You might say, I work on my computer, or I help customers, depending on your situation. Each sentence comes from a simple word, but together, they create a full picture of your day. This is how English becomes part of your routine, not something separate from it. At this stage, something important begins to change inside you. You start to see English everywhere, not just in books or videos, but in your own actions. When you drink water, you think, I drink water. When you sit down, you think, I sit. When you walk outside, you think, I walk outside. These thoughts may seem small, but they are building a powerful habit. You are training your mind to connect your life with English, and this connection makes learning faster and more natural. Let us take a closer look at how one word can grow through your daily routine. Consider the word go. In the morning, you can say, I go to the kitchen. Later, you can say, I go to work. In the evening, you might say, I go home. At night, you can say, I go to bed. The same word follows you throughout your day, and each time, it creates a different sentence. This shows you that you do not need hundreds of words to speak about your life. You only need a few words, used again and again in different situations. This approach also makes learning less stressful, because you are not trying to remember long lists of vocabulary. Instead, you are using what you already know, and you are repeating it in a meaningful way. Repetition is not boring when it is connected to your life. It becomes useful, and it helps you build confidence. Every time you describe your routine, you are practicing English. And every time you practice, you improve. You may also notice that your sentences start to connect naturally. Instead of saying one sentence and stopping, you begin to create a flow. You might say, I wake up at 7 o'clock, then I drink tea, and after that, I go to work. This is how real speaking works. It is not about perfect grammar, it is about sharing your experience step by step. When you can do this, you are no longer just learning English, you are using it. Another beautiful thing about talking about your daily life is that it is always available. You do not need a special topic, and you do not need to wait for the right moment. Your life is your topic. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, you can speak about it. If you are cooking, you can say, I cook food. If you are walking, you can say, I walk in the park. If you are relaxing, you can say, I sit and watch TV. This constant connection keeps your practice alive, and it helps you build fluency without pressure. At this point, your confidence should begin to feel more stable, because you are not guessing what to say anymore. You know what to say, because you are describing what you do. This removes a big part of the fear that many learners feel. You are not searching for ideas, you are simply expressing your reality. This makes speaking easier, and it makes you feel more in control. Now pause for a moment and imagine something exciting. Imagine speaking about your whole day in English, from morning to night, using simple words and clear sentences. You wake up, you describe your morning, you talk about your work, you share your evening, and you express your thoughts. This is not something far away. This is something you are already building, step by step, with every sentence you speak. And here is something powerful to carry with you as we move forward. Imagine speaking about your whole day with simple words. This is not just practice, this is transformation. In the next chapter, we will take these daily sentences and start mixing them together in a more natural way, so your English flows smoothly and you begin to sound more confident and more connected in every conversation. Chapter 9. Mix sentences. Now you are reaching a very exciting stage in your journey, because everything you have learned so far is coming together in a natural and powerful way. You are no longer limited to one type of sentence, and you are no longer thinking in small, separate pieces. Instead, you are starting to combine your sentences, and this is where your English begins to sound more real, more flexible, and more like natural speech. This step is not about learning something completely new. It is about connecting what you already know and using it smoothly. Think about what you have already practiced. You can make simple statements like, I go to work. You can ask questions like, do you go to work? And you can express feelings like, I like to go to work. Each of these is useful on its own, but when you start to mix them, something stronger appears. For example, you can say, I go to work every day, and I like my job, but sometimes I feel tired. This sentence combines action, time, and feeling, and it sounds much more natural. You are not speaking in isolated pieces anymore. You are creating a flow. This is how real conversations happen in daily life. People do not speak in only one type of sentence. They make statements, they ask questions, they share feelings, and they move from one idea to another without stopping. Now you are learning to do the same thing, and this is a big sign of growth. You are becoming more flexible with your language, and this flexibility gives you freedom. You are no longer stuck thinking, what kind of sentence should I use? Instead, you are simply expressing your thoughts. Let us look at a simple example so you can feel this clearly. Imagine you are talking to someone about your day. You can say, I wake up early, and I drink tea in the morning. Do you wake up early too? I like my morning routine because it makes me feel calm. In this small conversation, you used a statement, a question, and a feeling, all connected in a natural way. You did not use difficult words, but your English sounds complete and alive. As you practice mixing sentences, you will notice that your speaking becomes smoother. Before, you may have stopped after each sentence, thinking about what to say next, but now your ideas begin to connect. You move from one sentence to another more easily, and this creates a natural rhythm. This rhythm is very important, because it makes your English sound more confident. Even if your sentences are simple, the way you connect them makes a big difference. Now let us bring this idea into your daily life again, because that is where your practice becomes strong. You can talk about your routine like this. You might say, I go to work in the morning, and I eat lunch with my colleagues. Do you eat lunch at work? I enjoy talking to my friends, because it makes my day better. This is not a long or difficult conversation, but it feels real. It shows action, interaction, and emotion, all working together. At this point, you may start to feel a new kind of confidence, and it is different from before. Earlier, your confidence came from being able to make sentences, but now your confidence comes from being able to connect them. You are not just speaking, you are communicating in a more complete way. You are sharing ideas, asking for responses, and expressing your feelings. And this makes your English feel more natural. Of course, it is normal if you feel a little slow at first when you try to mix sentences. You may pause, you may repeat yourself, and you may need a moment to think. But this is part of the process, and it will improve with practice. The more you try, the easier it becomes. Your brain is learning how to connect ideas, and with time, this connection becomes faster and more automatic. One helpful way to practice this is to create small conversations by yourself. You can imagine a situation and speak both sides. For example, you can say, I go to the park in the evening. Do you go to the park? I like walking there because it helps me relax. This kind of practice helps you build flow, and it prepares you for real conversations with other people. It may feel simple, but it is very effective, because it trains your mind to move naturally between different types of sentences. Another important thing to remember is that you do not need to make long or perfect conversations. Even a few connected sentences are enough to show progress. The goal is not to speak a lot, but to speak in a way that feels natural and connected. When you focus on this, your speaking becomes easier, and your confidence continues to grow. Now take a moment to see how far you have come. You started with one word, then you built sentences, added meaning, used time, asked questions, answered them, expressed feelings, and talked about your daily life. Now you are mixing all of these elements together, and your English is becoming more flexible and more complete. This is not a small change. This is a big step forward in your journey, and here is something exciting to think about as we continue. Now you sound more natural, but there is one more powerful step. In the next chapter, we will focus on improving your speed and flow, so you can speak more smoothly and confidently without stopping too much and without feeling stuck in your thoughts. Chapter 10. Speak faster. Now you are standing at a very important point in your journey, because you already know how to build sentences, how to connect them, and how to express your thoughts in a simple and clear way. But there is still one thing that may slow you down, and that is hesitation. You may know what to say, but when it is time to speak, your words come slowly, and sometimes you stop in the middle because you are thinking too much. This is where we begin to focus on speed and flow, not in a stressful way, but in a natural and confident way. Many learners believe that speaking fast means speaking perfectly, But this idea is not true. Speed does not come from perfection, it comes from practice and movement. When you repeat simple sentences again and again, your brain becomes familiar with them, and they start to come out more easily. For example, when you say, I go to work every day, the first time it may feel slow, but if you repeat it several times, it becomes smoother. After some practice, you can say it without thinking too much, and that is where speed begins. Let us explore this idea in a simple and practical way. Take a sentence like, I eat breakfast in the morning. Say it once, then say it again, and then say it again with a little more confidence. As you repeat, try to keep your voice steady and your rhythm natural. You are not rushing, you are flowing. After that, you can connect it with another sentence, like, I go to work after breakfast. Now you have two sentences, and when you repeat them together, your speaking becomes more continuous. This is how flow is built, not by speed alone, but by connection and repetition. At this stage, it is very important to let go of the need to be perfect. Many learners stop speaking because they want every word to be correct, and this creates pressure. When you focus too much on correctness, your brain becomes busy checking every detail, and this slows you down. Instead, focus on movement. Focus on continuing your sentence, even if it is not perfect. When you say, I go to work yesterday, it may not be grammatically perfect, but you are expressing an idea, and that is more important at this stage. With time, your accuracy will improve, but your confidence comes from speaking, not from waiting. Now think about how children learn to speak. They do not stop after every word to check if it is correct. They speak, they repeat, and they learn from experience. You can follow the same natural path. When you allow yourself to speak without stopping too much, your brain begins to trust the process. It starts to understand that speaking is about communication, not perfection, and this understanding helps you move forward more freely. Let us bring this into your daily routine, so you can practice in a simple and effective way. You can choose a few sentences about your day and repeat them every morning. For example, you can say, I wake up early, I drink tea, and I go to work. Repeat these sentences 2 or 3 times, and try to say them a little more smoothly each time. You can also practice in the evening by talking about your day, saying, I worked today, I met my friends, and I feel tired now. This repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds speed. Another helpful technique is to speak without stopping, even for a short time. You can give yourself 1 minute and try to talk about your day without long pauses. You may repeat words, you may make small mistakes, but that is completely fine. The goal is to keep speaking, to keep the flow moving. When you do this regularly, you will notice that your hesitation becomes smaller and your speaking becomes more natural. As you practice this, something important begins to change inside you. You start to feel more confident, not because your English is perfect, but because it is active. You are no longer stuck in silence, and you are no longer afraid of making mistakes. You are moving forward, and this movement creates a sense of progress. When you feel this progress, your motivation grows, and you want to continue. Of course, there may still be moments when you slow down or feel unsure, and that is part of the journey. Learning is not always smooth, and it is okay to have small pauses. The key is not to stop completely. Even if you pause, you continue. Even if you repeat, you continue. This attitude keeps your learning alive, and it helps you build strong speaking habits. Now take a moment to look at your progress again. You started with one word, then you built sentences, added meaning, used time, asked and answered questions, expressed feelings, talked about your daily life, and learned to mix your sentences. Now you are focusing on speed and flow, and this is bringing everything together. Your English is no longer slow and uncertain, it is becoming smooth and confident. And here is something important to remember as you move forward. You don't need perfect English, You need moving English. When your English moves, it grows, and when it grows, your confidence follows. In the next chapter, we will take this flowing English and use it in real situations, so you can feel even more comfortable and natural when you speak with others. Chapter 11, Real Practice. Now you arrive at a moment that feels different, because everything you have learned is no longer separate, and it is no longer just practice in your mind. It is coming together in a real and meaningful way. Until now, you have taken small steps, one word at a time, one sentence at a time, and each step has built your confidence. You learned how to create sentences, how to add meaning, how to use time, how to ask and answer questions, how to express feelings, how to talk about your daily life, and how to speak with more flow. Now, you are ready to use all of this in real situations, and this is where your English truly begins to feel alive. Imagine a simple situation that can happen in your daily life. You meet someone, maybe a colleague, a classmate, or even a new person. You do not need a complicated conversation to begin. You can start with something simple and natural. You might say, "Do you work here?" And the other person answers, "Yes, I work here." Then you can continue, "I also work here. I come every day." And you may add, "I like my work because it is interesting." In just a few lines, you have asked a question, answered, added meaning, and expressed a feeling. This is a real conversation, and you are part of it. Let us take another example, something even more personal. Imagine you are talking to a friend about your routine. You can say, "I wake up early, and I drink tea in the morning." Do you wake up early? Your friend may answer, "No, I wake up late," and then you can respond, "I like waking up early because I feel fresh." Notice how this conversation flows. It is simple, it is natural, and it uses everything you have learned. You are not trying to impress, you are simply connecting. At this stage, role play becomes a very powerful tool because it allows you to practice real situations without pressure. You can imagine different scenarios and speak both sides of the conversation. For example, you can imagine you are at a shop. You can say, "Do you have this item?" And then answer, "Yes, we have it," or "No, we don't have it now." You can continue by adding, "I need it today," or "I will come tomorrow." This kind of practice prepares you for real interactions, and it builds your confidence, step by step. You can also practice situations that are part of your daily routine. Imagine you are talking about your day with someone. You can say, "I go to work in the morning, and I eat lunch at noon. I like my routine because it is simple." Then you can ask, "What do you do in the morning?" and continue the conversation. These small exchanges may seem simple, but they are very important because they train you to think, speak, and respond in a natural way. As you practice more, you will begin to notice something inside you changing. You will feel more ready to speak, not because you know everything, but because you know enough to communicate. This feeling is very powerful because it removes the fear that has been holding you back. You realize that you do not need perfect English to have a conversation. You only need simple sentences, clear ideas, and the courage to speak. Another important part of real practice is accepting mistakes as part of the process. When you speak in real situations, you may forget a word, you may use the wrong tense, or you may pause for a moment. This is normal, and it happens to every learner. The key is not to stop. You continue, you try again, and you keep the conversation moving. Every mistake you make is a step forward, because it shows that you are using the language, not just thinking about it. You can also practice with yourself in a more structured way. You can choose a situation each day and speak about it for a few minutes. For example, you can talk about your morning routine, your work, your plans for the evening, or your feelings about something. You can ask yourself questions and answer them, creating a small conversation. This practice may feel simple, but it is building a strong habit, and this habit will help you in real interactions. As you continue, you will see that your English becomes more natural, more flexible, and more confident. You are no longer translating every word, and you are no longer afraid to speak. You are using the language as a tool, and this tool is helping you connect with others. This is the true purpose of learning English, not just to know the language, but to use it in your life. Now take a moment to reflect on your journey. You started with one word, and now you can have a conversation. You have built your skills step by step, and each step has brought you closer to this moment. This is not just learning, this is transformation. You are becoming someone who can speak, someone who can connect, and someone who can express their thoughts with confidence. And here is something important to carry with you as we move to the final chapter. This is where everything comes together. In the next part, we will focus on turning this practice into a daily habit, so your English continues to grow, and you continue to improve every single day. Chapter 12. Your new habit. Now you have reached a very important point, and it is not the end, it is a beginning. Everything you have learned so far has prepared you for this moment, because learning English is not about one video, one lesson, or one day of practice. It is about what you do every day, in small and simple ways, and how you turn those small actions into a habit that stays with you. This is where real change happens, not in big, exciting moments, but in quiet, consistent effort that you repeat again and again. Think about your journey from the start. You began with one word, and that one word felt small, almost too simple to matter. But step by step, you built sentences, added meaning, used time, asked and answered questions, expressed feelings, talked about your daily life, mixed your sentences, improved your flow, and practiced real conversations. None of these steps were difficult on their own, but together, they created something powerful. Now, the only thing left is to make this process a natural part of your daily life. The idea is simple, and that is what makes it strong. Every day, you choose one word. It can be a very basic word, something you already know, like go eat, work, or talk. Then you use this word to build sentences, just like you have learned. You start with a simple sentence, such as I go, then you expand it. I go to work. Then you add time. I go to work every day. And then you can add feeling. I like to go to work because I enjoy my job. This process does not take a long time, but it creates a deep impact, because you are practicing in a focused and meaningful way. Repetition plays a very important role here, but not the kind of repetition that feels boring or mechanical. This is active repetition, where you say your sentences, you change them, and you connect them to your life. When you repeat a sentence, you are not just memorizing it, you are making it familiar. Your brain starts to recognize the pattern, and over time, it becomes easier to speak without thinking too much. This is how fluency begins, not from learning everything at once, but from repeating simple things until they become natural. Now imagine building a small routine around this idea. In the morning, you can take a few minutes to speak about your day. You can say, I wake up at 7, I drink tea, and I go to work. In the evening, you can reflect on your day and say, I worked today, I talked to my friend, and I feel tired now. These moments may seem small, but they are powerful, because they are consistent. When you practice every day, even for a few minutes, you create a habit, and that habit becomes part of your life. At this stage, something important begins to grow inside you, and that is belief. You start to believe that you can learn English, not because someone told you, but because you see your own progress. You hear yourself speaking, you feel your confidence increasing, and you notice that English is becoming easier. This belief is what keeps you going, even on days when you feel tired or less motivated. It reminds you that every small step matters, and that you are moving forward. There may still be days when you feel like you are not improving fast enough, and that is completely normal. Learning any skill takes time, and there are always moments when progress feels slow. But this is where your habit becomes your strength. Even if you do not feel motivated, you continue your routine. You speak a few sentences, you practice your word, and you keep the process alive. Over time, these small efforts add up, and they create a big change. Another important thing to remember is that your habit should feel natural, not forced. You do not need to practice for hours every day. Even 10 minutes of focused speaking can make a difference if you do it regularly. The goal is not to do more, but to do it consistently. When your practice becomes a part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth or drinking tea, it no longer feels like work. It becomes something you do without thinking, and that is when real progress happens. Now take a moment to imagine your future if you continue this habit. Imagine speaking English more easily, expressing your thoughts without fear, and having conversations with confidence. Imagine looking back and realizing that it all started with one simple word and one small habit. This future is not far away, and it is not impossible. It is built step by step, day by day, through the choices you make. As we close this journey, I want you to carry one powerful idea with you. One small habit can change your English life forever. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be fast. And you do not need to know everything. You only need to start, to continue, and to believe in the process. Your voice is already inside you, and with each small step, you are bringing it out into the world. If you felt today that English is not so difficult, then you are already changing. Start today with one word, and build your own sentences. Comment below one word and one sentence you can make. I will read them. And if you want more simple and powerful English lessons like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join this journey with me.